Anthony Joshua knocks Jake Paul out in round 6 in a very awkward fight. I must be honest, guys. I am going to be honest. That was a strange, awkward fight. And that was because Jake Paul made it a strange and awkward fight. Look, coming into the fight, I did not know what to expect. I didn't know even this fight was real. A lot of people across boxing, even casual fans, hardcore boxing fans, questioned the validity of this fight. People questioned whether this fight was valid or not. And I always said, I'm only going to believe if both fighters were in the ring. And I did a live watch along, so shout out to everybody that came on that live. But, I was expecting this fight to last as quick as possible. I was expecting Anthony Joshua to get in there, have a look at maybe the first round, have a look at Jake Paul, and then the second round, get rid of Jake Paul and get this fight over with. But it was the opposite of it. Anthony Joshua was in there and he found it really hard to knock Jake Paul out. And that was because Jake Paul came in with a game plan that makes it difficult for any fighter to knock him out. If Jake Paul fights like that against any other fighter, it will be difficult to knock him out. And Anthony Joshua found it really hard to knock him out. Now, Jake Paul's game plan was to come in, frustrate Joshua, make it difficult for him to hit clean, make it hard for him to, close the distance. And by the way, the ring was massive. It was a 12-foot ring. Massive. That looked like a playground. It looked like a soccer field for those of you in the US. That looked like a football field. And it was so big and it's so difficult for Joshua to pin Jake Paul down. And so the fight started with round 1. Jake Paul came out of the blocks and it looks awkward. And the first thing that Jake Paul did in the first round is he runs back onto the ropes. And that is when I thought this is going to be a long night for Anthony Joshua, because Jake Paul just, runs back to the rope, starts leaning on the rope and started using the rope to run around the ring. And it was difficult for Joshua to land a jab because Joshua was too far from the target. If Joshua stretches his jab, it was too far from Jake Paul to even hit him. So it made the fight awkward from the offset. Now, one thing that Anthony Joshua didn't do well is he did not close the distance and he did not cut off the ring. And that was something that I was shouting. As I was doing the live watch along, I was shouting at the screen, why are you not closing down, the ring? Why are you not closing down? Why are you following this guy? And Joshua was following Jake Paul, but it could also mean that Jake Paul's movement was making it difficult for Joshua to close the ring. But Joshua is the much more experienced fighter. So why is the much more experienced fighter following the inexperienced fighter when they should be cutting off the ring? That was very strange. And so Joshua was not able to cut off the ring and therefore did not have a lot of success. A lot of jab did not land. Joshua could not control this fight with the jab because Jake Paul made it awkward, right? He was running. Jake Paul could not land a lot of jabs because you can't run and land jabs. You have to plant your feet in some capacity to be able to land jabs. And that was what we saw there. Jake Paul wasn't able to land his jab. Anthony Joshua wasn't able to land his jab. And it was a fight where it's about who lands the big right hand, gets the other out of there. There was no control in this fight. The jab was not working. Jake Paul was not looking to, provide much of a contest for Anthony Joshua. What Jake Paul wanted to do was to make it awkward for Joshua. And that's what he did. And some of the things that Jake Paul did was just ridiculous. Like, he kept falling on the canvas. He kept holding Anthony Joshua's legs. He kept hitting and holding. He kept, faking that he's been hit low blow. And it just made it an awkward encounter, right? And I was expecting Anthony Joshua. And I think a lot of people going into this fight were expecting Anthony Joshua to get in there and blow Jake Paul out. Get him out of there as quick as possible. I said that put him out of his misery. But it just felt that Anthony Joshua was playing with his food, was not, eager to get Jake Paul out. But I must say this, it is always difficult to knock a fighter out that does not want to be knocked out. Does that make sense? It's difficult to knock someone out that is running. If a fighter comes and stands and wants to go blow for blow, it's easier to knock them out. If a fighter is running around and making it awkward and falling on the ground and holding, then it's difficult to knock him out. But I don't think Anthony Joshua did himself any favor by not cutting off the ring and not closing the distance quick enough. Was he scared about what was to come back, by Jake Paul? Was Anthony Joshua circumspect about Jake Paul landing a lucky shot? Maybe. But that is the risk you take in making sure you're not embarrassed in this fight, because you need to get rid of someone like Jake Paul. You need to get rid of them, because the longer this fight goes, the lesser people look at Anthony Joshua and go, is this the two-time heavyweight champion? So look, it's a win. It's a win or lose thing for Anthony Joshua here. If he let the fight go longer, people questions him. If he gets the win earlier, people go, yeah, but you beat a YouTuber. But at the same time, Anthony Joshua should take the second option, which is knock him out and let people say you beat the YouTuber. And nevertheless, Joshua was not able to do it in round 1 or round 3 or round 4. It took him 6 rounds to get rid of Jake Paul. Now, Jake Paul, one thing that was to his detriment is that he got tired quick in this fight. And that was from all the running. All the running that Jake Paul did, right? Running around, falling on the ground, as much as fighting a bigger fighter in Anthony Joshua, he got tired quick. His legs kept giving up. And it showed, in round 5, in round 4, round 6, it showed that Jake Paul was not the same fighter that was in the ring in round 1 and round 2. He got tired. And, I must say he took a lot of big shots as well. Anthony Joshua landed some really good body shots. Jake Paul took them well. Joshua landed some really good head shots as well. Some hooks to the head. He took that very well. So look, you got to give Jake Paul some props for getting in there with Anthony Joshua and taking some big shots. But it was always going to be one winner and one winner only, and that was Anthony Joshua. And Jake Paul was always going to take some sort of punishment. He's a proud guy. He was in there taking a lot of shots. He kept, sort of bringing his tongue out to taunt and frustrate Joshua. But at some point, Joshua returned the favor when he started landing shots, when Jake Paul was tired and, he was losing momentum. Joshua then started to bring his tongue out and start to taunt Jake Paul. So look, it was an awkward fight. It was a strange fight. Unexpectedly, it was a fight that I was thinking would go different to the way it went. But having reflected on the fight and the way Jake Paul came into the fight, I can understand why this fight went in the 6th round. Because Jake Paul did not come to win. Jake Paul came to survive so that he can say, I survived, or I took Anthony Joshua to 6 rounds. That's what Jake Paul came to do. And the game plan to run around the ring, to hold Joshua's leg, to fall on the floor, to hold him, to do this, to do that. That was all to make sure it was awkward and Joshua was not able to knock him out early. And that's what I took from this fight. But what do you think? What do you think about this fight? How did you predict this fight before? And what do you think about the outcome of the fight? Has Joshua lost any credibility? Has Jake Paul gained any credibility in boxing? Do you think Jake Paul has any future in boxing? Get in the comment section and let me know. My name is Bright. This is the Bright Show Podcast Boxing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.